Hello and welcome to episode number 474 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show we've got some crinkly cargo planes, X-ray pets, a family flying, and just for Matt, some wine-derived aircraft fuel. In the military news this week, we've got a solar spy plane, a super Saab, and some in-flight refueling. But before all that, Matt's been enjoying the high life with his own personal air chauffeur, and we're going to have some more on that later. But joining me this week, he's not in the studio. No, he's not. He's somewhere far, far, far away. It is, of course, our US correspondent, Matt Smith.
Hello. I don't know what to say. Hi.
There he is. There he is. He's there. Don't panic.
Weird. This is weird. Sorry, there's a lot of buttons to press when you're doing it not from the studio. A lot of buttons.
Because that looks a lot brighter where you are. It's pitch black outside here, Matt.
Yeah.
Why is it so bright where you are, Matt? Where are you?
I'm not in Bungay.
Oh.
That's why. It's all
gone somewhere?
Yeah. I might have gone to the US of A, and I might be sat next to a certain pilot.
Podcasting legend.
You should see this setup. It's actually taking both of us to operate the studio remotely, with both of us working cameras and whatnot. Hello, team. It's good to see everyone.
And thanks for hosting young Master Smith this week, Armando. You've had some interesting adventures, haven't you?
Yep, we're going to get into that a little bit later, but trying not to make Matt's entire vacation about aviation, although I guess it is how we all are linked. But
I mean, I'm grateful for that. Certainly.
I don't know. Have we done anything that's non-aviation? We're going to go to a brewery.
We're going to
tonight.
A brewery after this, which I'm very, very excited about.
Oh, but it is a pilot-owned brewery.
Oh,
so.
Yeah. You see? Ruined.
Anyway, that's all our audience cares about is all things aviation.
Yeah,
so.
We've done a lot. We've been to. I've gone and had my first ever breakfast at the Waffle House, for example. That's quite cool. And we went to a proper barbecue place yesterday, didn't we? Which was out of this world. I've never had ribs like it. It's ridiculous.
North Carolina barbecue.
Yeah, utterly ridiculous.
Word. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm having a horrible time.
Yeah. Good. Glad to hear it. You have been missed this week, Matt. I'm not going to lie. My kitchen's been very quiet without you. Anyway, he is back with us this week, as always, our aficionado of all things BA and C1A. It's, of course, Neville Bounds.
Yes. Back again. No flying this week, unfortunately, but lots of driving and lots of London activity. Matt even might have a picture of one of the exhibitions that I was doing this week. No, it's been a very, very full-on week, actually. It's been really, really hectic, but enjoyable. I'm also glad it's the end of the week as well. It's been one of those weeks which has been early starts and late nights and whatever.
Yeah, you've been feeling under the weather, Nev, so I'm quite surprised you're as sprightly as you are.
Bit of COVID business last week, but we're okay now. But yes, I thought one of Matt's was going to show you the picture of our exhibition booth that we had at the XL.
I'm on it. Sorry.
That's all right. I mean, I know you're a long way away, mate, but do.
It's the satellite delay, I'm afraid.
Actually, Nev, on that note, while Matt's finding that picture, how do you find the XL Centre? Because I've done a number of exhibitions there in my time as exhibition person. I always found the XL quite accommodating.
Well, it is. Unfortunately, they've got some road closures and some entrance closures at the moment. So actually trying to get into the right place is extremely challenging. But yes, as you can see with our foam hands there. No, it was a good, very busy show. Because we had the train strike on the first day, which didn't help matters. But no, it was actually quite busy. But glad to be with you all tonight.
Excellent. Good to see you. And also joining us tonight as well is one of our very busy working production team members. It is, of course, Nick Codling. Hello, Nick.
Good evening. Hello. Nice to be back and good to see everybody. We've got a full complement on tonight. That's quite unusual. It's good to see everyone.
Right. We are still one missing, bless. We haven't got executive producer with us today.
True.
John's not in our ear this evening.
No, I think that might have been a technical step too far, even for me, to be fair.
Now that I'd love to have seen. But we have at the very last minute, literally before Matt hit the live button this evening, managed to secure a very high-profile guest to join us on the show tonight. He's one of the greatest pilots of the Airbus aircraft. It is, of course, Andy Wilson.
Talking about me, great pilot. We got the wrong man. Hello all. I don't feel like a substitute tonight. There's loads of us.
I know, but we have got some Airbus stories, Andy, which is obviously
that's all right.
It was,
Could you elevate us, Andy?
You know, I like getting the manuals out and boring the life out of you.
How's life, Andy? How's things in the airline world?
Good. I've done some flying this week, which is rare. Went down to Kos, one of the Greek islands, yesterday, but spend most of my time sat behind a desk now, which is lovely.
Oh, how the other half live, eh?
Yeah.
You'll have to take up simming from home. You have to buy yourself some sim equipment, Andy.
I'm all right. If the urge comes, then I'll just ring up and go flying.
But I'm going to say a quick thank you to one of our listeners who Armando knows very well and all the team knows very well, John Jester, who sent me some great pictures today via our social media. And the picture, one of them, is on the screen behind me here. John was having a little get-together in the skies with an American Airlines Dreamliner. And John very kindly sent these over to me this afternoon. And, I popped it on the green screen. So thanks for that, John. Good to spit. I'll hear from you this afternoon. So nice to have a different picture on the screen behind me for a change.
That's like something that never gets old. When you're flying a 747 and a Dreamliner, who looks little, by the way, standing next to you, with 1,000-foot separation, you can get this kind of quality picture on probably his phone.
Yeah.
It has to be close. That's pretty cool. That never gets old to me, flying close to other airplanes. Not too close.
So we've got loads of stuff to get through tonight on the show, but we're going to say a quick hello to everyone who's joined us in the live YouTube chat room this evening, starting off with Mazouz, our local listener, Mazouz. Good to see you in there. Richard Adams is in there as well. Hobby Time, hello to you. Captain Cruz is in there. Lee Davies is also joining us this evening. We've got Jan is also in there. Good to see you, Jan. We scroll down to make sure I don't miss one. Shorty is also in there. Good to see you, Shorty. Logan Lynch, hello to you as well. Great to see you in the chat room this week. Sturman, another one of our local listeners, Sturman, hello to you as well. You scroll down, make sure I don't miss anyone out. Just scrolling down. Main man Micah, hello to you, Micah. Good to see you as well. We've got Bill. Bill's joined us as well. Good to see you in there. Captain Cruz, who else have I got in here? Sam Bays. Hello to Sam. I can't remember seeing Sam in the chat room before. We've got Armando wielding his blue spanner of doom as well to keep everything sane in the chat room. Don't forget, you're listening to us as an audio podcast. We are on YouTube. Search for our page, Plane Talking UK, and don't forget to click that bell and subscribe to our channel. So we've got loads to get through tonight, including some great military stories as well. Never looks happy. So if all the team's ready.
Ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
And the first story comes to us this week from airlinelive.net. And I think we covered a story similar to this a few weeks back, and it seems to be a regular occurrence now, especially with the 76. This is a DHL Boeing 767 damaged in a hard landing in Beirut. On the 18th of September, a DHL International Boeing 767 received substantial damage to its upper fuselage stemming from a hard landing at Beirut International Airport in Lebanon. The 767-300 freighter with registration Alpha 9 Charlie Delta Hotel Alpha Bravo was operating flight ES-160 from Bahrain to Beirut. However, the 767F suffered a hard landing in Beirut. As a result, the crew received minor injuries and this aircraft sustained substantial damage. The 767 came to a stop, taxied to its parking stand, and the status of the involved aircraft remains unknown until Boeing responds with an answer as to whether the freighter should be repaired or written off. An accident investigation commission has been informed to determine the probable cause of the incident. And that was not the only thing that's happened as well in the last few days. We've also had this week a FedEx aircraft that landed with no gear. That happened this week in Tennessee, airport in Tennessee. The FedEx aircraft skidded off the runway during a crash landing at a Tennessee airport when its landing gear did not come down. But no one was injured, officials said. Public safety agencies rushed to the Chattanooga Regional Airport late Wednesday after reports that the FedEx 757 had experienced a landing gear failure shortly after takeoff. The Chattanooga Fire Department said in a tweet, the aircraft, which had 3 crew members on board, had circled, then made its final descent and came to rest beyond the runway in a safety area. Video posted by Hamilton County EMS showed sparks flying when the plane touched down, but officials said there was no fire, only smoke from the engines. Great work by the pilot and airport personnel as well, he said. All responding agencies for their coordinated efforts, the fire department tweeted. A FedEx spokesperson told news outlets that the flight from Chattanooga to Memphis experienced an issue right after taking off. The NTSB said it was investigating the gear-up landing at the airport, and the Chattanooga airport closed its primary runway due to the crash landing, and some said flight times could be affected by this incident. So the first one, obviously, with the DHL, we saw something like this. I think was it United Airlines we had a few weeks ago, guys? I can't remember.
Yep. And there's also a First Choice back in 2010 had a similar bit of damage at Bristol.
But this, I think I looked this one up, and this was a fairly old Boeing converted freighter, the 76. So I think this is going to be written.
Yeah, this was Captain Cruz says this particular aircraft was a prior American Airlines airplane. Andy, do you think these kinds of creases? Do you think this is happening on the touchdown, on the mains, or when they let the nose down?
Well, I'm thinking it's more likely when the nose comes down.
I think so too.
And I don't know if they're running out of elevator authority at certain speeds and it's causing the nose to really slam down. That's my initial thought.
Yeah, because you think companies like DHL, United would work out the center of gravity where it's not too nose heavy or something like that. But I know, my experience, I'm fairly new to jets, but you really do have to fly it. You have to fly the nose down. You can't just let it come down like a turboprop or anything. That's sort of my experience with the corporate jets as you're flying it. And we joke around, you fly it all the way to the gate, but you really do have to fly the nose down to the runway.
Yeah, it's the same with all jets, really. You have to control the nose all the way down to touchdown because sometimes, depending on the conditions, normally with spoiler deployment, the nose will actually start to rise again.
Right.
So you do have to push it down. But then again, in some cases, it may just start dropping, so you've got to arrest that because you don't want to damage the aircraft, as we've seen in these cases.
So the FedEx one with the landing gear, what are your thoughts on that, Armando?
So the FedEx one's interesting, and I want to know more about it because Chattanooga is pretty close to Memphis. I don't know if that is a standard FedEx route for a 757 or if they were perhaps doing a reposition. So I'm curious actually to know if this aircraft was coming out of maintenance out of Chattanooga. And it seems like their malfunction was fairly quick after takeoff because they just essentially stayed in the pattern. They stayed with Chattanooga departure, and they did a couple flybys, I think two from what I saw most recently. So they were running checklists. I knew something was wrong. This was more of a probably two very different situations between the DHL and the FedEx one, but they learned or listened to the ATC audio and they stayed pretty calm, and they actually did not declare an emergency until they had finished running their checklists, it seems like, a couple times around, and then they said, okay, well, we don't know what the gear is doing. They did a flyby. The tower confirmed that the gear was not down. and then they declared an emergency, got the emergency vehicles out there, and really just kind of did a really great landing. I know Matt hates the aircraft, but it's actually the 757 is another really rugged aircraft that can take a really good beating, and keep on. This one, I feel like this one will be back in the air.
I'm surprised, looking at the pictures of that 757, that they didn't attempt gravity extension, because none of the doors are open.
So forgive my naivety here. What's a gravity extension?
Literally that. You just remove all hydraulic power from the system and let them fall out under gravity.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. Because that would be better than no gear at all? Or
Yeah, because the weight of the gravity normally can lock itself down under its own weight.
Right.
Is it not like you see on the films, Andy, where you see them grabbing a handle and turning it just behind the?
Yeah, I don't know how it works on the 757, but on the Airbus, it is literally a handle. You lift it up, turn it 3 times, and then you hear all the gear doors open and the whole system drops out.
Yeah.
So I was surprised looking at the pictures that they hadn't attempted that. So I'm not sure if it was just the gear and there was something more of an issue.
I think it might have been more. I would love to get John Jester's take on this also, because I know some companies are going away from any maneuvers that you haven't practiced or that they don't have an SOP for. And when I was doing my ATP, CTP at Delta Airlines, those particular instructors said in this kind of scenario, you have the checklist, you may try it once, but they were teaching actually, flybys. It's a high angle of attack, low energy type thing. We don't do that often. Is it more risky to do those kinds of things than just to belly up the airplane, right? So I think companies are kind of getting away from practicing maneuvers in an emergency situation that you haven't practiced before, because you may, I think that the statistics show that you may complicate your emergency by doing something weird. But, right.
Sorry, I would have thought as part of a type rating on an aircraft, you would have to do a gravity extension and know how to do it.
Yeah, I think you do, but that's why I think you're right. And I think there was probably something more going on here where the gear doors weren't sequencing, or I think,
And I agree with on flybys. I think flybys of towers are silly things. You can get yourself in a lot of trouble, and the guys in the tower, they're experts at air traffic control. They are not experts at aircraft and aircraft systems, and all they can see is just the underside of an aircraft. And even if the gear is down, they don't know if it's locked.
Exactly. I think that was one of the things, is they can't tell if it's locked or the over center links are out. So it just induces more risk to an already risky situation.
Well, and I presume if it's not locked, for example, then that is, as dangerous as no undercarriage at all. Essentially, I guess it's potentially more dangerous in some respects.
Yeah, it is. It is safer.
Flailing arms, essentially.
It's safer to gear up it than have one of the mains unlocked, because you're going to go off the side. If you gear up, at least you know which way you're going. A nose gear, though, would be pretty, I don't know, non-eventful. Like that.
Depends which way it retracts.
That's true. Yeah, because we had that 717 at Charlotte here, that Delta Airlines one, that they did a great job of just lowering the nose when it didn't extend and stopped right on the runway.
Yeah. There we go. This is why we've got 2 great pilots on the team, look, who can give us this kind of explanation. So thanks, guys. But Matt, you've got the next story, and obviously, Matt, you've got a couple of poochers with you there with Armando, but you wouldn't want to put them through a X-ray machine.
Well, I mean, I have many questions about this story, but we'll read it and get into the nitty-gritty, shall we? So it's simpleflying.com is the website, and the headline is TSA asks passengers not to put pets through airport security X-rays. I feel like it's, we're dealing with stupid people again here if we're having to actually say this out loud. With many US airlines, passengers can take a small pet like a dog or a cat in a kennel that fits under the seat in front of you. They can travel in the cabin with you as long as they fit. The rules are different for international flights and domestic flights, though, so check the airline policy to be sure that small animals are allowed. The under-seat kennel will generally count towards the carry-on baggage limits. Only dogs, cats, rabbits, and household birds are permitted and must be able to travel without causing a noise or odor disturbance. Yummy. There are other rules in airline policies that can differ from carrier to carrier, so do check out the guidance from the airline if you need to travel with a pet. According to the Transportation Security Administration, that's the TSA, your pet should be immediately placed into its kennel when you arrive at the airport. However, when undergoing TSA screening, passengers should not attempt to x-ray the kennel with the pet still inside. This might seem like an obvious piece of advice, but clearly, there have been many incidences that have prompted the TSA to issue guidance. Indeed, the TSA says it has seen too many travellers leaving their pets inside when their travel bags and placing their pets through the X-ray unit. The scanners used at TSA stations are powerful X-rays, which could harm your pet if they pass through the tunnel. The TSA recommends removing the pet from the carrier, when arriving at security and proceeding through the walk-through metal detector with the pet in your arms. If you're able to put the pet on a leash, they can also walk through with you. Passengers with skittish pets who might panic once released from their kennel can request assistance from the TSA. They will be taken to a private screening room where the process can be undertaken without the risk of the pet escaping. One should also be gently reminded that there is also the cargo hold as an option. According to Django, the equipment provider for dog owners, most airlines provide a climate-controlled pressurized compartment below the passenger cabin for pets to stay safe but separated from passengers. Pets can travel in kennels in the compartment, but passengers should also ensure that there is sufficient food and water on hand inside the kennel for the animal, depending on the length of flight. The risk to pets making air travel is generally very low. The US Department of Transport requires animal incident reports when pet deaths is in flight. According to Preventative Vet, the risk is about 1 out of every 10,000 trips with a pet. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, the US Department of Transportation has rules in 14 CFR Part 382 that guarantee accessibility to those with a disability who need a service animal. A service animal can be a canine helper for the blind or a mental health support animal. However, airlines such as Delta Airlines are tightening up those regulations on flying with service animals. So again, check with the airline before you book. There you go. And I'm not quite sure what purpose this particular picture shows. I assume that's a dog in a bag about to go through it.
Is it possible to put some of these passengers in the kennels underneath?
Oh, wouldn't that be a lovely idea?
Oh,
Also known as Group 6 boarding.
Oh!
Wow. Well, we just lost 13% of our audience.
oh,
It's really interesting sometimes the things that TSA comes up with that I'm sure they get a memo in the morning of like, you must say these things. But sometimes I've gone through Charlotte and Atlanta, and as soon as you show your boarding pass and your driver's license, they say, just remember, no weapons past this point. And you're like, oh, I thought that was obvious to everyone, but now you have to say it to each person coming through.
You think there's been a briefing of some description because somewhere, like in the United States, essentially, somebody has done the exact opposite. Yeah.
Right. Those are two statements you would never hear in Europe. Make sure you got no weapons on you and don't put your animals through the scanner because they're not allowed through anyway.
Yeah. And in the picture that Matt, I think, is about to show, that's a pretty chunky Chihuahua, which is also a great band name, by the way. But
it just looks like a roast chicken to me.
It does. It does look like it looks more like a method of something you should be eating rather than anything else. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Or Peking duck, something like that.
the apparent weight of that small dog that perhaps the owner maybe needs lessons in animal care.
So moving on. on the sign of bands, Nev, we all know you love a good old band. So what's wrong with this band, Nev?
Well, it's the murky world of intellectual property, trademark infringements, and high-value lawyers here, I think. It's on theguardian.com. It says, EasyJet owner sues band for using name Easy Life. The owner of the airline EasyJet has launched a legal action to force a Leicester band to change their name, accusing the members of Easy Life of being brand thieves. Easy Group, which has a long history of suing people and companies that it believes are cashing in on its versions of its family of brand names, accused the band of infringing the rights of the online retailer Easy Life. Easy Life is an independent website that licenses its name from Easy Group for an annual fee. The EasyJet owner has no financial interest in the business, however. The alternative indie pop band Easy Life was formed by the frontman. The alternative indie pop band Easy Life was formed by the frontman. The alternative indie pop band Easy Life was formed. There's some very odd echoes going on just there. The alternative indie pop band Easy Life was formed by the frontman Murray Maltravers in 2017 and consists of 5 members. With reference to the band thief, Mr. Maltravers and his fellow band members who have decided to use our brand Easy Life without permission, the spokesman for Easy Group said. We have a long established record of legally stopping thieves from using our brands, and I'm confident we will stop Mr. Maltravers. The band turned to the social media site X, formerly Twitter, to defend themselves, saying that they had worked hard to establish our brand, and in no way have we ever affected their business. The band said they're forcing us to change our name or take up a costly legal battle which we could never afford. Although we find the whole situation hilarious, we are virtually powerless against such a massive corporation. Easy Group, which was set up in 1998 by Sir Stelios Hadji Ionou, the owner of Easy family of brands, has a section of its website called Brand Thieves, dedicated to its international legal battles to protect the company's intellectual property. Some people think they can make a fast buck by stealing our name and our reputation, it says on the site, which lists legal victories. They set up websites and companies using the name Easy, or phonetic versions of it, which can either pay a passing resemblance to an Easy Group company or be a direct copy. In 2018, the company took legal action against Netflix over its comedy series Easy, claiming its use of the name breached its European trademarks. In 2008, the Northampton-based restaurant Easy Curry changed its name under the threat of legal action. Such David and Goliath cases are not uncommon, as the owners of a registered trademark are often keen to leverage their rights wherever and whenever they can, said Mark Caddell, a partner and trademark attorney at Withers and Rogers. This is important because if, for example, trademark infringements by a lesser or copycat brand is left unchallenged, it can start to dilute a company's brand presence in its chosen markets, and this could have a negative effect on sales. If they want an easy life, the band will probably find that coming up with a new band name is much more favourable than getting embroiled in court proceedings. Yes, this business of intellectual property and trademark infringement or name infringements is never a cheap affair, whichever way you look at it. And
what I'm surprised by, though, Nev, is the word easy is a generic word. I mean, it can mean.
But have you seen the band's poster?
Yeah.
That's the big issue here.
Oh, I see.
Have you put a picture of it up?
Let me see if it's in. Hang on, let me try and.
Yeah, it's
basically a rebranded EasyJet aircraft with Easy Life written on it in the same font and text.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't think you can't copyright the word easy, otherwise we'd all be in a world of trouble. But I mean, it's pretty bad. So for the audio version, it is literally imagine an EasyJet aircraft with Easy Life written in the same font down the side. So I think that's where Stelios and the group have got the issue.
Yeah, unfortunately, for whatever reason, the picture isn't there, unfortunately, so I can't bring it up. But Yeah, it's yes, I see what you mean. Now that I can see it here in the show notes, as you say, it is. It's. I mean, even the stripes and everything are pretty much identical, aren't they?
It just is an EasyJet aircraft.
Oh, yeah. He's had some words fiddled around with, essentially. Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. To be fair,
Stelios will go after you. He will if you try and use any of his easy branding.
Yeah, with good reason. Let's be honest.
Andy, I think you actually got the next one.
Oh, yes, it's me next. Here we go. And this one's from, hang on.
Oh.
Carlos has just...
Hold on. I was just going to quickly pop that up there for the benefit of those people who are in the YouTube feed. If you are watching, whether you can see that, whether that's actually on the screen, whether you can see that or not.
Yes, you can.
But you can see there, for those of you watching in YouTube, well, that is how very, very close and similar that is to EasyJet. So there we go.
Yeah.
Just wondering if these guys have had any airtime on Park Radio.
Easy life.
To be fair, I'd never heard of this band until I saw this story.
Well, rest assured, they won't be the official band of EasyJet anytime soon.
No.
Well, they're going to have to change their name as well, so we'll never know who they are now, will we?
True.
Well, they could just change it to Hard Life.
Yeah.
Could they be the band formerly known as Easy Life?
Yeah.
I think that's already been
He'll
done.
go after you for that as well, I think.
We can get this with BA. Anyway, Andy, you've got the next one.
Yes, this one's from businessairportinternational.com. And this is a company called Volt Aero performs first flight of an electric hybrid aircraft with 100% sustainable fuel. So Volt Aero has flown the proprietary electric hybrid powertrain, that's just another word for engine, isn't it, for its Casio family of aircraft with 100% sustainable fuel provided by Total Energies. Conducted from Volt Aero's development facility in Royan, France, the milestone flight utilized the hybrid powertrain's electric mode and its internal combustion engine, which was fueled by Total Energies' Excellium Race 100, made from bioethanol produced from waste that originates in French vineyards. Oh, I bet that smells nice. This milestone demonstration was performed with Volt Aero's Casio S testbed aircraft operated by the company to validate its electric hybrid powertrain and the application of sustainable fuels, thereby de-risking airworthiness certification for upcoming production versions of the Casio aircraft family. Based on initial results, we calculated a truly impressive CO2 reduction of approximately 80% while operating the Casio powertrain in its electric hybrid mode, and with the internal combustion engine fueled by Total Energies Excellium Race 100, said Jean Botti, Volt Aero's CEO and Chief Technology Officer. It underscores the opportunity for production Casio aircraft to represent a major step closer to aviation's decarbonisation goals by replacing the standard Avgas 100 high-octane fuel for aviation piston engines. This demonstration flight is part of our commitment to support players in the aviation sector for their decarbonisation objectives, said Joël Navarron, the president of Total Energies Aviation. More broadly, it demonstrates our desire to continue our research and development efforts to offer an alternative to aviation gasoline containing lead, thereby meeting the challenges of general aviation's decarbonisation. Volt Aero's Casio family will be a highly capable and reliable aircraft production line for regional commercial operations, air taxi charter companies, private owners, as well as in utility category service for cargo, postal deliveries, and medevac applications. The Volt Aero propulsion concept is unique. Casio aircraft will utilize an electric motor in the aft fuselage-mounted hybrid propulsion unit for all electrical power during taxi, takeoff, primary flight, if the distance is less than 150 kilometers, and landing. The hybrid feature with an internal combustion engine comes into play as a range extender, recharging the batteries while in flight. Additionally, this hybrid element serves as a backup in the event of a problem with the electrical propulsion, ensuring true fail-safe functionality. Voltaire's first production aircraft will be the Casio 330, with a 4-5-seat interior configuration and operating on a combined electric hybrid propulsion power of 330 kilowatts. It's to be followed by the 6-seater Casio 480 with a combined electric hybrid propulsion power of 480 kilowatts, and the Casio 600, sized at 10 to 12 seat capacity with electric hybrid propulsion power of 600 kilowatts. There you go. That's quite fancy. That's quite a good idea.
I'm just worried about the word Casio.
Casio.
I thought they manufactured watches.
It's okay. There's an extra S in there. It's CASSIO.
It's kind of what I was thinking also, since Nev last week called me a guitar collector. I was like, oh, I could buy this airplane and then just say I have a Casio.
Opportunity for a further trademark infringement, yes.
But not if you say Casio. Because of its two S's.
I do think this is a good idea. And it's quite impressive that there's a CO2 reduction of 80% while operating in electric hybrid mode. I can't say electric hybrid.
Well, this is the thing about when with at the 400th, wasn't it? When
Neil
Cluffley. I mean, this is sort of very much the model that they were going down, wasn't it? It's like at the moment the batteries that we need to do the job are just not there yet. And like his particular design, not a million miles away from this, where essentially all you have to do is change the power source, essentially. So it can be either like a small generator or something like that, as you say, like run with sustainable fuels or whatever. But when the battery technology improves, you can then swap that power unit out for the latest battery, essentially.
Yeah, and this sustainable fuel, this Total Energies Excellium Race 100, I don't know if that was mentioned before in the story, it seems to be like really good stuff, especially using waste from vineyards, which would just get spread on a field otherwise.
Yeah, this really was what Neil was talking about years ago. Because the BIHA was going to be run essentially by an APU, right, sipping maybe 150 pounds of jet fuel per hour, but he had already talked about making it a sustainable aviation fuel. So you're talking 150 pounds per hour to just run an APU that is running electric motors and that is actually providing the propulsion for the aircraft. But
the good thing in this case is, because if you lost all of, say, the electrical engines died, then you'd have no propulsion. Whereas, because these are built into the actual powertrain, it then just takes over and powers the aircraft. So you do have a fail-safe system.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's really more of a take on, or a spin on the automotive technology, right? With that.
It's a Formula One engine, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, do you think in the not too distant future we will see technology like this being sort of rolled out into larger, sort of 10, 20-seater aircraft?
Potentially. I think the really big jets are going to go hydrogen. I think that's the future for them.
Yeah.
Not electric. It's too much for a really large aircraft. But I think for regional aircraft, this is a good alternative.
Yeah. Love it.
I'm hoping I'm going to retire before hydrogen comes along, because
I was going to say, when is this going to be? I want to try this before I'm, in a home somewhere. Next up, Nev. Oh no, that's me. Sorry, it's me next. It's a story that we've covered. I think we've covered this a few times on the show, with this second-hand market for the A380s. And I think we covered a story not so long back about Global Airlines. And Global Airlines partners with Hi-Fly on an A380 induction. Global Airlines has enlisted Hi-Fly, so far the only airline to have ever operated a second-hand A380, to assist in the British startup's launch with the quad-jet type. The great news for us, they said, is that the team at Hi-Fly know the A380 inside and out, will be invaluable at helping us with the industry knowledge around the maintenance and technical acceptance required for our first aircraft, they said. All crucial steps before work begins on introducing the new interiors and other vital elements of the global service and passenger proposition, Chief Executive James Asquith said. Hi-Fly, the Maltese AOC of the Portuguese ACMI charter specialist, leased its only A380 9-hotel Mike India Papa, or MSN 6, from Doric Asset Finance back in 2018. The aircraft was previously retired by Singapore Airlines and remains the only ever A380 to successfully trade on the second-hand market. The carrier harboured plans to add more A380s, but their ambitious plans were cut short by the COVID-19 pandemic when the demand for the niche Super Jumbo plummeted. Highfly retired its A380 back in 2020. Global Airlines acquired the same unit, which is currently in storage at Luards in France. It's said since that it's brought 3 more A380s, although their identities are unknown. Global pledged that its first A380 would fly to Europe in the coming months and will eventually be registered in Malta, surprise, surprise, as 9 Hotel Golf Lima Oscar Bravo Lima. Global Airlines plans to launch in 2024, operating premium transatlantic routes. The first services will connect London with New York and Los Angeles, although the airline is yet to secure slots at any British airports. It has yet to apply for a UK air operator's or certificate or operating licence. And International Corporate Affairs Chief Liam McKay told CH Aviation that details of the AOC will follow in due course. When asked if the startup was planning to launch as a virtual airline using Highfly's AOC.
It is a virtual airline.
It is, yeah. I mean, the picture is real. There is an A380 with the global logo and stuff on, but I just don't. Well, it may happen, but I don't know if it's going to work.
If Highfly are operating the aircraft for them, then they are essentially a virtual airline or just a travel agent who own the aircraft. I can't see how this can get off the ground. You need serious amounts of money. Even just launching an airline using a 737, which is compared to the A380, far cheaper to operate. It's still a lot of money. This guy, James Asker, he's got a lot of money, which is great because you need it. As the old saying, how do you become a millionaire? You become a billionaire, then start up an airline. I don't see them. And getting an AOC as well is a very long process from the CAA. And if they haven't started that, then it's going to be a while. And as well, they won't be looking for an AOC from the UK if they're operating these from Malta on the AOC from there. I don't understand how they're going to fly London to the US when the aircraft is registered in Malta. I can't remember the exact conventions, but I'm not even sure if that's possible.
I mean, there was with the high flow, wasn't it? I mean, that did seem to get quite a lot of use, and lots of airlines were using it as a way of if they'd had something go tech, because it came with a ready to go crew, didn't it? As well, it was you could literally hire it after a couple of phone calls to get you out of said muddle.
Yeah, and it cost you a lot of money, and it was very short term.
Yeah, but it was an immediate solution to a potential, issue. I guess. I guess just COVID is what knocked that one on the head. I guess.
Yeah, that's their bread and butter. Airline. It's just like Titan. That's their bread and butter. Airlines ring them up and say, "Oh, an aircraft's gone tech. You got one." And if you work for Titan, you have to be within 60 minutes of Stansted as flight crews that can go, yeah, we've got an aircraft, and they ring you up, right, you need to get here now. You're off to, especially on the long haul aircraft, you're off to Maldives for the next 3 days. Stuff like that. That's the nature of the work. But this is a little bit different because they are basically running the airline for them, and they must be charging a big premium to do that as well.
Yeah, true.
It is going to be interesting to see what happens. But it is interesting they haven't secured any slots, and they want to fly from London, and the only place that can accept, only 2 places, 3, Stansted, Gatwick, Heathrow could accept a 380 and service it. There's no chance of you getting a Heathrow slot. Gatwick, with their issues at the moment, they're reducing capacity.
Yeah. So Manchester can take an A380, can't it, Andy?
Manchester can, yeah, but I'm just saying because they said, we're going to fly London to LA, then... And I mean, Manchester's got one stand that has air bridges. There's plenty of remote stands that can take it. But sort of Emirates have got the monopoly on that. And I don't think Emirates would be very happy if these guys try to come in as well. Yeah, it's just, best of luck to them.
Yeah. I think we'll be reading this story for a while now before it even starts off. But
It's
yes,
a
it
really
does.
interesting aircraft choice because they're getting them from Lourdes, where it's parked, or Lord, if you're French. There's hundreds of other aircraft they could have got from there. There's 340s, 330s, 320s lying around there. Why go for the 380?
Well, and the 340s are a big aircraft again, aren't they? So you've got,
Yeah,
you've
the
got,
600s are, yeah.
you've
Yeah.
got pretty decent capacity there that would be more versatile, for want of a better word.
More airports that'd be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Any thoughts
Yeah.
now before we move on?
No, I'm with Andy on this one. It is an oldest choice, isn't it? Considering all the risks, and as he says, getting an AOC, it's not just about the technical requirements. It's all the commercial requirements and insurance and operating details and everything. There's a lot to it, absolutely, and legal too.
Armando, you've got the next story all about the triple tree flying.
Yeah, we're going from the world's biggest aircraft to the world's smallest aircraft on this story. So fly-ins, I don't know that that's really a thing over there in Europe. Matt is actually going to experience a fly-in tomorrow. So Carlos, you and I went to the Flying Horseman Ranch fly-in there in Virginia. So tomorrow I'm taking Matt over to the Laney's fall fly-in, which is similar. It's 2 grass runways. Probably about 100 airplanes will show up tomorrow morning, as long as the weather is okay. But the Triple Tree fly-in is kind of our biggest one here in the East Coast. If you have never been there, this is kind of a story telling you why you should go there. Matt's going to put up some pictures if you're looking at the YouTube feed. But we all know Oshkosh. Oshkosh is like all things great aviation. That's big and small. Sun and Fun is a little bit more intimate. It's more general aviation focused. That's in Florida. It's kind of a spring break destination. But the Triple Tree fly-in here in South Carolina is just a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more family oriented. It's like a big reunion of antique aircraft and general aviation aircraft. According to the Southern Hospitality, which is a magazine here, they're all about fun, friendship, and hosting people there in the South Carolina and exposing them to the ways of the South. This is the kind of flying that families bring their kids, their dogs. There's cookouts. There's actually even a steak night where there's free steaks, free ribeyes that get cooked up. And of course, there's all the hangar talk. You get to look at all kinds of vintage aircraft. Matt just put up a picture of a DC-3, a radial engine DC-3, landing there at Triple Tree. There are all kinds of things to do there when you go. So it's not just airplanes, although that's what we all want to do. But there's hiking trails. You can fish in their lake. There's aircraft parked right by the lake. There's workshops just like they do at Oshkosh. And then there's activities for teenagers, for kids, for families. There's flight simulators that they put up for this flying. This is actually a private airstrip. It's only open 1 week out of the year for this fly-in by the owners. There's radio control aircraft, hot air balloons. I think there's actually flights for sale on T6s and P-51 Mustangs, I'm sure, for the right amount. But yeah, it's really interesting. This is a 7,000-foot grass strip. So it's actually longer than most regional airports here in the U.S. and definitely longer than most airports over there in the UK. But 7,000 feet of grass that is golf course quality. There's volunteers, like all of these other fly-ins. It's all run by volunteers, and the whole event relies on them. But the volunteers themselves are pilots, mechanics, experienced aviators. This year there was a kind of a special honoring of a gentleman named Uncle John. Uncle John's been going there for, he just celebrated his 100th birthday, flying in an air cam into the Triple Tree fly-in, and he's been going there for a long time. But they presented a plaque for him and everything. And again, with the volunteers, there's only 3 full-time employees that work at Triple Tree, and they really just maintain the grounds and all that. Everything else is done by volunteers. 278 total acres of grass. That's to mow. So
Looks
the reason
stunning.
yeah, it's just a cool thing. Again, if anybody is ever in the US and or our US listeners and you haven't gotten a chance to go see an experience of flying, I don't know, Carlos, you've now been to the Flying Horseman, which was pretty representative of what we do. How would you kind of describe our local fly-ins?
Very, very friendly, very aviation GA orientated. Everyone who goes to the fly-ins, especially the one obviously we went to in the US when I was with you, everyone there is focused 100% on everyone else's aircraft. Everyone's flying, everyone's chatting to each other. It's very family orientated. It's very close knit. Everyone's getting on with each other. Everyone's chatty. Everyone wants to talk to each other all about aviation. It's just, it's just a big, good get together.
And it's free.
Yeah, and it's free. Exactly.
Yeah, even the food is free. It's just donations.
Yeah.
I wish we had the weather and the space in this country to do these sort of things.
We do have the space in a lot of the airfields to do things like this, but it's rare, unfortunately, that these things happen here. I don't know why, because it's not that we haven't got a whole load of people who own their own GA aircraft who would love to do things like this, but it's not something you see happen an awful lot, even in the area where me and Matt live here.
Well, I mean, Seething have done similar things, haven't they? They've sort of done much smaller scale, obviously not like what Armando's talking about here, but they've done smaller scale meetups. I mean, in fact, we hosted one there, didn't we?
Yeah, the only difference being, Matt, is that a lot of the ones that Seething have hosted, they generally tend to be a 1 day thing, and you don't, unlike the US ones where you get to camp virtually next door to your aircraft in a tent if need be. It doesn't seem to sort of happen here. I might be wrong. Other parts of the UK might have some fly-ins. If anyone's listening and you know of some great fly-ins in the UK, let us know so we can obviously talk about them.
Andy, do you
GA
fly GA?
Go on, sorry, Armando.
Oh, I was going to ask you, do you fly GA? Do you?
No. I don't have time. I'd love.
I hate it.
No, I'd love to. I don't really have the time. You guys have got a lot less controlled airspace as well,
yeah,
which makes a big difference. Flying around the UK, you'd have to stay at quite low level. The cost as well. The cost for an hour, I think it's up to around £160 an hour to use an aircraft in the UK. Correct. I mean, that's big money, really, for fun.
Yeah,
and also the wife says no.
Okay, that's the truth.
There we are.
No, I'm joking. She's always saying to me, "You should start flying Cessnas and stuff again." I'm like, yeah. When I've got time. Like, when have I got time?
You know, we love hosting people, and perhaps you should propose to her that you come to Charlotte, North Carolina for a week. Her and Megan can hang out, and then you and I can just go fly around into all kinds of little grass strips.
I'll have to. I'll have to bring the 5-year-old as well. But yeah. I'll start proposing that one. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Start now. You might have it sorted by 2029, something like that. Yeah.
That's fine.
We'll be here till 2034. And then we're moving to Belize or something.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, you've got the next one actually.
Oh, yes. It's all happening. Right, how do we even... So this is from AIN Online. Is this V-Birds or Fliverbird outlines plan for on-demand air taxi network? So this is a German app-based on-demand air taxi startup, Fliverbird? Literally, I don't know. But is preparing to launch services at the end of 2024 with the first of its 4 Tecnam P2012 travelers on order. The startup expects the business to grow exponentially over the coming years with a mixed fleet of up to 500 low-cost and reduced emissions aircraft envisaged by the end of the next decade to service a growing international network. The company has joined forces with Italian airframer Tecnam to develop the operation dubbed Flive. Anybody else got any idea how you say that?
I think it's Fly V Bird.
But then how about the one, the operation dubbed Fly? Is it Fly V? Okay. Which
I'm
will
going to go with Flivbird.
Fliv. Okay, so Fliv.
Norwegian accent there, Armando.
Which will provide air services with the 1,700 nautical mile range of the Traveller Piston Twin to small, rural and secondary airports around Europe. It will use an app booking system and scheduling platform based on what the company founder, Tomislav Lang, calls an innovative algorithmic approach designed to deliver an alternative to traditional transportation models. Using its proprietary, or gets better now, Flyv AI algorithm, the company says its platform will optimize the daily flight schedule based on paid bookings and operational constraints. It will also provide a guaranteed fixed travel timeframe at the booking stage. We're not reinventing anything, just making things better for the market by letting the customers choose when and where they fly, said Lang. The 9-passenger Traveller is an ideal fit for the company, Lang maintained, due to its very low operating costs, fuel efficiency and versatility. We will start with the Lycoming-powered Traveller, as the Continental-powered short takeoff and landing variant does not have an electronic engine control, he explained. Similarly, the company is eyeing possible new alternatives for its fleet, including the hybrid electric short takeoff and landing aircraft being developed by US-based startup Electra, which is targeting entry into service in 2028. Hey, they should look at the Casio as well. It is vital that we get the aircraft selection right, and if the Electra does not come to the market on schedule, we will stick with the Traveller, said Lang. As an aviation industry veteran with 23 years' experience, including having been the owner and managing director of now defunct Swiss regional airline Skywork, Lang is confident he has what it takes to launch this new service in a very competitive field. With my pedigree, I have learned all the flaws of this business, and I have the right partners and team in place. And together, we have taken our time to evaluate the model and make it feasible, said Lang. It's all about getting you from A to B as quickly and conveniently and cheaply as possible using a network of small local airports. Germany is likely to be the launch country with a core network of airports. Brunswick, Mönchengladbach, Munster, Friedrichshafen and Stuttgart already determined. From this starting point, Lang hopes to expand flights to around 30 other airports. It's like planting a seed and then growing from the centre, he said. Within 2 years, he plans to expand into neighbouring European countries with the locations driven by customer demand. With a German AOC, we can cover any routes in the European Union. If we want to operate within the UK and Switzerland, non-EU countries, a separate AOC will be needed, or we could establish partnerships with existing operators, Lang explained. In about 10 years, the company expects to be operating a fleet of up to 150 aircraft across the continent. It's a worldwide scalable product, and if we do this right, we could be operating 500 aircraft globally before the end of the next decade, Lang suggested. Well, what do you think?
Uber of the air.
So I think Nick, you actually wrote some comments on here. I'm kind of with you. Again, I only lived over there for a little while, but is there a market for this? You guys have such a great public transport ground network.
Well, Europe does. The UK doesn't.
Just don't mention the train services here, Armando.
Well, compared to our train service, it's the best in the world, because I only have the Amtrak here only runs one line from about 4 cities, and then one up the East Coast, one out to the West Coast. We have zero public transport here. I don't know, I loved being in the UK, and I thought your train system was great.
Yeah, Matt was lucky the other day when he got the train from Dis, because his train wasn't on, or the drivers weren't on strike. But
But I needed to do it on that's one of the main reasons for going up the night before, because on the Wednesday there was an actual train strike taking place, and it was genuinely going to be impossible, because it's I think the first services Norwich bound were like at lunchtime, and normally they start at like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was just crazy, just crazy.
I think this is a good idea.
Is it viable though?
Is it going to work in the UK? That's, this is the thing. I mean, like Armando's saying about like the trains being, rubbish here in the States, but like flying is much more of a normal thing to do here in comparison to like the UK. I mean, there's literally, you were pointing out when we were driving around, like there's places where people can park their planes at their houses. Like you and I would park a car in the garage.
I think it's all going to boil down to cost, isn't it? How much it's going to cost the consumer.
Well, also, is this a point-to-point service, or is this literally it's airborne and somebody goes, oh, actually, I want to go to Friedrichshafen. Yeah, press that button, and the pilot goes, all right, we're just going to call it this airport now and pick somebody else up. And then they get airborne again, and then suddenly, before you know it, it's taken you 4 hours, and it would have been quicker to go on the train.
Even if they're not running, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. And again, like you say, cost. I
mean, that once you're in the air, though, I mean, they can't. Surely, once the deal has been done, as it were, right, they can't be sort of, unless you got lucky and it was en route.
Yeah, but I think that's what they sort of saying here, because if it's several seaters, they're going to want to fill it up.
Yeah. But in the same way, you might have an 8-seater Uber, for example, but it's not going to it's not going to pick somebody else up on the way once you've done their route. It's going to, as you say, it depends on the route, doesn't it? I guess.
Nev, you do a lot of commuting and travelling within the UK, sort of up north and back down to sort of your neck of the woods. If this was a service that was not an offer here, as I say, to use rather than driving or using a commercial airline. What do you think?
Difficult to say, really. I mean, the operating costs of a twin piston are not that expensive compared to a turboprop aircraft, I would imagine. My sort of start and end point is Manchester. If I'm going to Manchester, I'm going to drive it unless the customer is right next to Manchester Airport. So going further north, if I'm going further north, I'm going to get on a plane. Unless I've got equipment to take with me, as I did the other day to Edinburgh and Aberdeen, but that's quite rare. It relies heavily on regular commuters using it, and that means the business community. And we all know what's happened with high-speed rail in this country over the last couple of days. Thank goodness. I think that it would be a difficult one to run in the UK, but you see in Germany the high-speed rail network is very good. So is there a business case for it? I don't know. Difficult to say.
And the guys in the chat room actually having a really good chat about it. Jan's talking about how Braunschweig is a home of Volkswagen and their aviation authorities. So if you had a company like this, a small company with small aircraft, and they found this sort of niche in the market where they can say, okay, we'll connect Braunschweig through to Berlin, and then they just run that back and forth, almost like a charter. I guess it would almost like a charter, but a scheduled service. Like we have that here, where we have essential air service, where, or even there are some companies that will bid for a small airline to provide service for their employees from a city like Midland, Texas, to Dallas, and it'll be like a Saab or something like that. So I guess you guys, I think we're all saying the same thing. Maybe if there is a industry or business use case for it, then it might work, huh?
Are those routes subsidized?
The EAS routes are subsidized by the government for economic progress, yes.
We have very few routes that are subsidized in this country, mainly up to the Scottish Highlands where road transport's difficult. But all of down in England, all of those routes, it's just a free market. If you can make it work, you can make it work. So it was the downfall of the second reiteration of Fly BMI, Flybe as well. The market disappeared, especially at the beginning of COVID, and there's never anybody to bail you out in this country anymore. So yes, it could make it difficult unless you do have, as Nev said, you need the passenger numbers to make it work.
Yeah.
But then is it just becoming a regional carrier?
Right.
And it's no longer the Uber of the sky, as Matt put it.
Kind of the question. And then where do they fall legally in their operating certificate? Then that changes things. Huh, all good questions. We should have them on the show. They can give us their pitch, and then all 7 of us that are currently on the call can sit there like this, like Shark Tank, and throw holes in their business model.
So that is where we bring the commercial news segment of the show to a close. But obviously, as you may know from the top of the show, Matt is over in the US with Armando. So, Armando, you've obviously, straight off the bat, you've got Matt sampling some of the delights of a certain aircraft that you fly.
Yep. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it anymore in public. So I'm actually just going to let... also, I got picked on APG yesterday. Matt and I joined them for a little bit. And I still got... They hadn't even talked to Nick Codling. And Captain Nick was giving me grief about my pronunciation of the former Hawker Siddeley 125 that is now goes by another name. But I'm actually going to let Matt talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, so as you know, I'm here in the States. It's been just lovely to sort of spend time with Armando and his family, just sort of doing Armando type things, and one of those was one of the plane that Armando flies, the Hawker, that has gone for a little bit of maintenance. So I got the opportunity to have something that many people will never ever have, and that's essentially a private jet all to myself. Admittedly, only for about 15 minutes, because it was literally a positioning flight from where it lives near to Armando's home to where it was going for maintenance. But it was basically myself and 2 pilots, a very nice bar. And before we got underway, Armando talked me through the sort of the pre-flight checks and what has to be done before you fire up the aircraft.
Okay, hi everybody.
Hi.
We've got Matt here.
This is weird.
We're actually taking Matt up flying in the Hawker. This is a maintenance reposition flight. We're literally going to be a 15-minute flight to a service center. But Matt gets the full VIP treatment in the back.
I'm allowed to go to the bar, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. So we're going to go through the pre-flight procedure. I'm going to be talking to you about it.
Yep.
So what I did right there was just check all the batteries before we start anything. I want to make sure that all the batteries are charged. And then right away, we are going to turn the battery on. Make sure that the gear handle is down. That is set. That is set. Parking brake, we will set. And we got 2 good lights. And then turn the beacon on. Left fuel pump to emergency. And that is pumping fuel.
Why is that? Why do you move it?
It's the only way that it pumps fuel from the left fuel tank to the APU.
Right.
And then the first thing we're going to do is start the APU. So we test it. Fire bell.
Okay.
That's if we had a fire in the APU, that's what we would hear. Yeah. Make sure that's off. Make sure the bleed air is off. And then we start it. We yell, APU!
Oh wow! And we've got the gauges up here, like as it's coming up to speed. Yeah.
Yep. So that's its RPM.
Yep.
And exhaust gas temperature, and the generator load right there.
Okay. And the generator load, that's based on.
So it's 0 right now, and you're going to see it pop up as soon as it gets to full speed.
Get to speed, yeah.
It's going to go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Right. So now the generator is ready to load.
So it says DC load, but what is the? So is it like the voltage is a set voltage, and then that's fluctuating depending on demand?
Yep. So it's 28 volts DC, 300 amps that comes out of there. So now we've loaded the generator, and then what I did was close the bus tie, so that tied the electrical system from the front of the airplane to the APU.
Okay.
And now the APU is powering
Everything.
all of this stuff, right?
I'm presuming you have to wait until everything's running at full speed before you. Yeah.
And then the other thing is I started a clock.
Yep.
And when that clock gets down to 0, we can use the bleed air. So right now we're just taking electricity from the APU.
Okay.
We're not taking any bleed air, any extra air.
And what's the bleed air for?
Bleed air, when we turn it on, is going to provide air conditioning to the airplane.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the difference between the jets and the turboprops, is we have an APU, so we can cool the airplane down, we can heat the airplane up.
Get on board.
In an emergency, that can pressurize the airplane.
Wow, okay.
Right, so we can route the bleed air to different places. And it's literally just a little jet engine.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the APU on Hawker was, it came off of a DC-10 part number from back in the day. Yeah, so.
Nerd alert.
Sorry. Yep. So the other thing I did was started the inverters. Inverters take DC
Turn it into AC.
and turn it into AC. But we've got 3 inverters in this airplane, and we want to make sure that each inverter can take the load of all the other inverters. So I'm just checking 115 volts AC.
Yeah.
So they all work.
Yeah.
While I'm there, I'll turn the emergency lights to arm.
Okay.
The seatbelt signs are on, which I love. This one actually has like a...
Bing bong. Yeah.
But it's got a virtual flight attendant, because this used to be a charter airplane.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the co-pilot seat actually has selectable announcements, just like an airliner.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I can turn on the before takeoff announcement, the turbulence, the over water announcement.
Right turn to the
I'm going to turn the fuel pump off. We don't need it anymore.
Okay. Because it's now primed and it's
all ready to
drawing
go,
its
yeah.
own. Yeah, yeah.
And then we're just going to turn the bleed air on, and you'll hear it. So now the AC
Yeah.
is on.
Oh, there it goes. Yeah.
Now we're using bleed air from the APU to cool the airplane down.
Okay.
All right. So we've got that, and then while we're up here, we're just going to go across the top, check all our lights and annunciators,
Yeah.
make sure everything's on.
Yeah.
The only one that doesn't come on in this airplane, because it was an afterthought, is the baggage compartment fire light,
Yeah.
which we test. There's 3 smoke detectors back there.
Ah, yeah.
All right, those are checked. Now we're going to check the stall system. So in this airplane, we have 3 stall computers.
Sorry, the pins that you've just removed there. What's that?
Just gust locks for the wind.
Okay.
So it prevents the control surfaces from moving in the wind, or if an airplane taxis by.
Okay.
I'll turn the oxygen on while I'm here too. That is providing emergency oxygen to the crew and the passengers.
Yep.
All right, so we'll test. You ever heard of the shaker? We're always talking about the stick shaker.
Yeah, yeah.
This is it. It's a pretty big warning. All right, and there's my
Okay, so-
stall computer.
So what's the purpose of that?
This is, if you're getting close to a stall, this is the warning that it's going to give you.
Wow. Okay.
So we don't have anything that says that goes meep, like a small airplane.
Pull up.
Yeah. We do have that.
Oh, do you?
I'll hear that in a second. There's 3 different channels for the stick shaker. Yeah. Test the 3rd one, doesn't shake, but we'll see a stall
see the
item
light,
3.
yeah.
And then if you don't do anything, the airplane will push, not to the ground, but it'll push the nose down so you don't stall.
Oh, wow.
So we
okay.
test that system. Shaker, shaker, shaker. And you'll see it go.
Oh, wow.
See that? So
Well, that's quite fierce.
I don't know if you can reach that, but you can feel how much force. Test the second one. Yeah, it pulls it out of your hand. It makes it pilot proof.
Yeah, yeah, right, yeah.
All right, and then we're going to test our engine fire. So we have 7 lights, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a bell. Test engine.
I love how old school the bell is.
Engine 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a bell.
Bell, yeah.
All right. Our air temperature overheat. We're testing that. That's good. And then there's an overheat light there. Ice detector.
Okay.
We think ice, ice, baby. So ice. And then there's an ice.
Yeah.
There's an ice detector outside the airplane that tells you, hey, I just detected ice. Turn your anti-ice on.
Okay.
All right.
And what does anti-ice do? I mean, I know that sounds like a stupid question.
It's exactly what it means.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
This is a wet wing
So is it
airplane.
that heating element, or?
No, this airplane uses a fluid to coat the wings so ice doesn't build on it.
Oh wow. Okay.
And
So
then
it's like spraying, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've got in the engines we've got an overheat, a hot bleed air inlet, so ice doesn't build up on the engine intake.
Okay.
This is a good one. If the cabin altitude comes too high, so pressurization, this is what we would hear, and I'm gonna test it, but then I'm gonna test the horn to cancel it. So pretty loud horn that tells us, hey.
Just turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. Please be seated and secure your seatbelt.
That horn tells you the cabin altitude is high, you need to do an emergency descent or put your masks on. Here's the noises that you were just talking about. We test all of those.
Light slope.
So that
Pull
would be
up. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up.
There she is.
yeah. So it went through all its tests. We'll test our overspeed, our actual airspeed overspeed. That's a Mach, and that's a speed. Our angle of attack indicator, we want to make sure it works. Us military guys, we tend to fly angle of attack, which is a real-time measurement of the angle of the wing compared to its relative wind.
Okay.
And CellCal is a way for ATC to get hold of us when we're doing transatlantic.
Okay.
All right, so that we've tested
That's
that.
the panel. Yeah.
Yep. Emergency lights are armed. Batteries are normal. Alternators are off. All of this is off.
Clear track 392. Contact departure station.
That's good. And then we'll test the autopilot.
Yeah, clear track 392.
So testing the autopilot. Now it's on. I can click it off. I can click it master off.
So I mean, forgive the question, like, because we often take the mickey out of Airbus pilots, where it's you press one button and it takes off, you press another one and it'll land.
No,
what does autopilot actually do in this environment?
It flies everything. It'll fly. This airplane does not have auto land. It doesn't have takeoff or anything like that. But 1,000 feet, we generally turn the autopilot on, and it'll fly laterally. It'll fly 3 dimensions, laterally and vertically. In this airplane.
So you've given it like coordinates and settings and all that kind of thing.
We'll put in a route and altitudes, and it will maintain.
It will maintain that.
Next thing we'll test is the trim system. You see, just like a Boeing.
Yeah.
Goes up, goes down. Co-pilots goes up, goes down.
Yeah.
That they cancel each other out. They do indeed. We'll test the individual switches, make sure it doesn't turn. All right. So that's all tested. We set it for takeoff right there. And while we're here, we will set the the command bars for takeoff. So it's 12 degrees nose up, 200 on the speed, and we want it to level off at 3,000 feet. And that will be the clearance that they're about to give us. All right, so we've checked all that. Now we just got to check our flight plan. See what our chief pilot planned for today. All right, so Charlotte to Greensboro, it's actually direct.
I hope so.
Direct at 9,000 feet.
Okay.
So I'll set the pressure for 9,000 feet, and then what I'll go do is go flight plan. This is probably the hardest part of transitioning to jets, is knowing how to work the box.
Okay.
and genuinely an experience that I don't think I will ever have again. Quite possibly, I think the coolest thing that I've ever done. And of course, in this day and age, the opportunity to sort of stand at the flight deck door almost and sort of look out while people are while the flight is in place, of course, is something that as a regular passenger is just not an option these days. Really, really amazing. I mean, words fail me. I mean, I'm sat here with Armando. We both enjoyed watching that back, weirdly. It was quite an insane experience. As I say, one I'm never going to forget again. Just so cool. So cool.
Yeah, you certainly look like you enjoyed yourself, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it really was. As I say, and I know it was only a short flight and all that kind of thing. And I need to talk about the landing, by the way. I'm not even joking. I didn't realize we were on the ground. The only reason I knew we were on the ground is because it suddenly went from being exceptionally quiet to really noisy. That is genuinely the only reason that I knew that we were on the ground. Honestly, award-winning.
Main man Micah is asking in the chat room, Matt, how many cocktails did you have while you're on board?
I can neither confirm or deny any of those.
Armando, now we've done the technical ground school, when do we move to the simulators?
Yeah, bring it. I'd be happy to put anybody through the hot box.
Yeah. Just so cool.
It is a fun airplane. It's very much a mechanical airplane. The HS-125. I'm still not going to say its name. It's a gentleman's airplane, right? Everything is mechanically linked. You can feel
very British. It's very British.
For British, and I've flown the Jetstream, and I've flown the Hawker, and I've been in the BAE 146, and it's surprising. They're all surprisingly British Aerospace has a lot of commonality. Maybe Airbus kind of stole that from them, but
they used all the same white piano switches in all of them.
Yeah, and everything seems to be in the same place. So it is indeed a very British airplane. Matt and I got to talk a little bit about the history of the Hawker, and how it was essentially designed for the Queen. She never flew it, but then the RAF took it as a troop transport, and it's just such a reliable airplane. In fact, the maintenance issue we had was a very minor maintenance issue, but it was still something that we weren't going to take our passengers on, and we have a spare airplane. We have a second one in our flight department. So we just got the other airplane to do it while we went to go and play. Yeah,
essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Carlos. I mean, Carlos's highlight was to fly the Pilatus, but then Matt had to upstage him and get on the Hawker.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just, it's like, I don't know. It's just like, even as being very keen on aviation, I could very easily get used to that style of flying. Absolutely.
Your turn now, Nev. You need to get yourself over to the US and experience the full Armando, lifestyle.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Global Express, perhaps. If you've got any in the fleet.
Give us a couple years. I think our principals are actually talking about upgrading to not a global, but possibly a Falcon 900 or a Gulfstream.
Oh, that'll do. That'll do.
There we go, Nev.
Next time you're going to Dallas or Portland, just make sure.
Well, I've had the pleasure of flying on a well-known United Kingdom construction manufacturer's Falcon 2000 on the jump seat, and also a well-known Danish toy brick company's Citation 560 XL in the past, and I have to agree with Matt. It's a brilliant experience going on a private or executive aircraft. It certainly is.
There you go, Andy. When your airline career is over, we'll be waiting for you to come fly with me.
Yay!
All right, and because I'm here and sat next to him, Matt hit the button.
Hang on.
See, I did that because I can see him and I knew he wasn't ready. Let's do something again.
Wow.
Bogies 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. Now undersea boogie.
All right, this first military story is a bit of a sad story. It just means I'm getting old because aircraft that I flew or flew on are more and more ending up either in the boneyard or up on sticks in front of military bases. But this particular J-Stars aircraft, a crew of airmen at Ramstein Air Base in Germany flew the final operational sortie of the E-8C J-Stars on September 21st, paving the way for the last of the fleet to be retired this month in October. Members of the Georgia Air National Guard's 116th Air Control Wing, fantastic group of individuals down there. I've actually worked with them. They flew the very last of more than 14,000 sorties for the J-Stars, which is used for targeting battle management and command and control. A spokesperson for the 116th Air Control Wing told Air and Space Forces magazine that 2 J-Stars aircraft now remain at Robins Air Force Base, and the tentative plan was to send the last one to the boneyard at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base the first week of November. Until then, the aircraft was still going to be continued to be used for aircrew proficiency or training as needed. The final operational sorties of the J-Stars marked one of the final milestones for the E-8, primarily used for ground-moving target indication, and I'll talk about that here in a second. J-Stars also served as a battle management platform. Its most distinctive feature, and I didn't get pictures to Matt here, but is the 27-foot-long canoe-shaped radome that sits under the forward section of the fuselage, and inside of that, there's a 24-foot-long side-looking phased array antenna. The aircraft was actually first used, that's actually the wrong story. That's next. The first aircraft was used in Desert Storm, played a key role in the Air Force's contributions to the global war on terror, and then most recently, the E-8 flew missions over Eastern Europe, as you guys can imagine, after the invasion of Ukraine. Now, the Air Force has been planning to retire the J-Stars for a little while. Since June of 2021, Air Force leaders announced that they intended to cut the aircraft from Robins Air Reserve Base, which has actually hosted the E-8 since 1996. And we've talked about it on the show. In its place, the Robins is getting the E-11 Bacon, also a great Halloween costume, just a bacon. That's the aircraft that's based on a Bombardier Challenger, I believe. Anyway, over the last couple months, Robins has wound down the J-Stars operations, deactivating squadrons and conducting their final flights. In June, the active duty 461st Air Control Wing completed its last active duty operational mission at Ramstein. So why I had this, the J-Stars aircraft is really important. I was call it a consumer of the data that it produced. The radar, this 24-foot phased array antenna and the associated processing software can detect something as small as a motorcycle moving. And what it's doing is it's an incredibly fast radar that's side-looking, and it can look as close as 30 kilometers and all the way up to 300 kilometers. And it's basically just taking constant radar images of the ground and anything moving. So if you had a team of individuals on the ground, you could warn them based on changes in the radar signatures, vehicles moving in and out of a city, personnel, motorcycles. You can tell a lot of activity going in and out of a city. As you can imagine, if anybody plays like Call of Duty or anything like that, it's basically like being able to call out and say, hey, this is a three-dimensional picture of what's going on around you, which is incredibly useful to the teams on the ground. So lots of contributions, lots of missions. Matt's got the picture up there. You can see the canoe on there.
I've got a question for you, Armando.
Yes, sir.
Why are they retiring these? Is it airframe hours? Because they never retrofitted these with the CF6s like the other, like the KC-135s.
Yeah, it's just like we talk about on the commercial side. You have a 4-engine jet that's been around since the 60s with a crew of 20 on board. With the advances in both efficiency of aircraft and aircraft engines, but also the fusion and data fusion systems on board, you don't need 20 people anymore. Now you can do it with 2. So now you have 2 operators on board in a much more efficient aircraft that has the same loiter time and much smaller radar signature also. Not that a Bombardier is any more survivable in combat, but just from an efficiency and money standpoint, it's much better to downsize to a platform. Plus, when the E8 was designed, the J-Stars was designed, we didn't really have that. We had satellite communications, but Desert Storm was really the first implementation of satellite communications. Now we have so much bandwidth that we can offload a lot of the data processing to a ground station.
Fair enough. It's a beautiful aeroplane.
They really are, and I'm sure as we get to see them in museums and the boneyard, then they'll be pretty. 707 is a pretty airplane, anyways. So kind of related, actually, this next military story. After more than 4 decades, this one's from thedrive.com, the KC-10 extender has also flown its last combat mission. While the Air Force has already been sending KC-10s to the boneyard since 2020, the latest milestone signals an impending retirement of the KC-10, although it's not entirely clear what the Air Force is planning for its future tanker fleet, right? We talk about the KC-46 and all that stuff. But the Defense Department just published a picture showing a KC-10 departing Prince Sultan Air Base on October 5th. That's in Saudi Arabia. According to the captions, the departure of the extender could conclude the aircraft's final combat deployment to that particular base, which is a key location in the Middle East. KC-10 also included a career of more than 30 years with the U.S. Air Force's Central Command. That included Saab Air Base. During that time, the KC-10, of course, as you can imagine, played a critical role in supporting all kinds of different military operations, including Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, and I will remind everyone that not only U.S. forces, but the KC-10 refueled a lot of partner forces and coalition forces and lots of aircraft from our coalitions. The KC-10 was originally brought on as a heavy tanker to supplement the KC-135. As you guys can see from the pictures, it's based on a DC-10, and it actually had a much larger fuel capacity compared to the KC-135. The KC-10 could actually carry almost double the fuel load of the KC-135. That's 356,000 pounds of fuel is what a KC-10 can carry. That's to offload. That's not even including its own fuel. And also, unlike the KC-135, the 10 also had an integrated hose and drogue system in addition to the boom, which made it easily able to refuel Navy and Marine Corps aircraft, as well as a lot of our partner nation aircraft that have the probe system. And then KC-10s have also flown so many missions, humanitarian missions. It's in addition to its refueling capability, it also carries a lot of cargo, right? This is like FedEx DC-10s or MD-11s. But once again, it's so sad to see these go, because all these aircraft that I know and love, and we all know and love, are starting to get retired. And
I'm going to make a sad admission here. I am a bit of a spotter. I don't have a flask and a notebook. Just to put that, I just like to watch them.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I like to spot airplanes, and it's getting boring in the world now. The military used to be the one place where you could go and see all these fancy aircraft that used to fly in in civilian service, and now they're all disappearing as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of a sad moment. And it's just going to be
to reiterate, I don't have a flask and a notepad. All right.
He has, however, got a bobble hat.
Do you know? I will say, I've said this on the show a couple of times over the last 4 years that I've been on the show, but we actually relied on our plane spotters out at Mildenhall, Lake and Heath. They were such a key resource, because it's such a small community that the plane spotters that would set up camp outside the gates, and particular Mildenhall on the north side, there was sort of a flatbed trailer, kind of a lorry.
Yeah, John's Field.
Yeah, there you go. See? Oh, you're more than we.
I've been there.
there. So those spotters there also had the phone numbers and the contact information for the Ministry of Defense police force on RAF Mildenhall and Lakenheath, and we actually rely on them quite a bit to tell us what doesn't look right. Right, they can spot someone who doesn't belong there, and from a force protection standpoint for both our American and British forces on our RAF bases, it was actually really important to us. So a lot of people would say, "Oh man, that isn't that dangerous? Wasn't that a bad thing to have these spotters always tracking you?" And we actually said, no, we actually rely on them to almost be and the outermost layer of security for our bases over there in Europe.
There was that incident.
You, Andy.
A few months back, I think, wasn't there, with that, I think Jonathan Warner will probably know about it. He's in the chat room, where those spotters were at one of the bases here in the UK, and they spotted an issue of one of the, I think it was an F-15 or an F-18 that was leaving Mildenhall or somewhere, and one of the spotters noticed an issue with one of the engines that had sort of flames coming from the.
Yeah, I'm sure the pilot knew, but
yeah. I think they called the base and they reported it and stuff, and I think the flight crew actually came round, I think the next day or something, and thanked the spotters who had spotted it.
Yeah, my first time at Mildenhall was 2005 to 2009. Occasionally, I would stop at that. Was it Johnsfield? Johnsfield, Andy. Yeah. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. John's.
So I would stop. I would just pull over, in my car, and I carried extra squadron patches. I used to work at the time it was the 352nd Special Operations Group, and every time we decided to change the thread color of our patches, I would end up with 50 patches or so, and I would just stop and just talk to them and talk to you guys and hand you patches and shake hands. And a lot of times there was little kids there, and and I looked the part, right? I was in a green flight suit with a brown leather jacket, and I could hand out. But me, Matt called me an Anglophile this week.
So. Several times, in fact.
Yeah. I think it's all about our two countries are so close, anyways. That was the smallest thing that I could do if I had an extra 10 minutes. Just go and walk up to that fence line and go talk to someone, or especially kids, and hand them a patch.
Definitely. And it's something that you don't forget either.
I didn't forget.
No.
Yeah. It's good.
Carlos, you've got one.
Yeah. It's from flyingmag.com. And here in the UK, we normally associate early warning aircraft with the AWACS having that large rotating dish on top of the aircraft. But this is all about Poland. Officials from Poland's armed forces were presented with the first two Saab 340 airborne early warning aircraft in a ceremony in Linköping in Sweden on Friday last week. The surveillance aircraft, which were unveiled 2 months after an order was placed, will provide Poland's with a national asset to reinforce territorial integrity and national security. The aircraft manufacturer said. Now, if Matt pops this picture up, I think we've got a picture of this aircraft with the show notes. That is an interesting addition to the aircraft, as to say. Poland is one of 9 countries.
Got an iron girder on the roof.
Yes, Poland's one of 9 countries that has purchased the Saab AEW system for air surveillance. The aircraft purchase comes as Poland focuses on defense modernization. Last week, the US signed a $2 billion loan to support the effort as Poland continues to boost its military in the wake of Russia's February 2022 invasion of the Ukraine. Now, as like Matt said, that is an interesting attachment to the aircraft, and
I mean, many could argue it would have the aerobatic. What's the word I'm looking for?
Or the aerodynamics of a brick.
Yeah, the aerodynamic properties of a house brick, essentially.
Yes. I always think when you see these things. I mean, I know the AWACS, the Sentry. Is it the Sentry, the E3 Sentry here in the UK, that has the big rotating dome on top? Always wondered when you're in these aircraft that have these interesting attachments on, whether there is any kind of additional wind noise when you're in these. Perhaps Armando, you would know or not.
I don't know. I've never been on an AWACS. I've been on some aircraft, some smaller sort of twin engine turboprop with all kinds of Frankenstein additions, but
I have to say, I'm loving Richard Adams' comment in the chat room there, is saying looks like an Airfix model that's not been detached from the frames yet.
That is actually quite very true. Very good.
There'll probably be a speed limit on the airframe lower than the original airframe speed limit with all these bits added on.
Yeah.
It's like the Beluga, obviously that has to fly at a lower speed than the original design because of all the additional bits added. So that's probably the only limit, really. I doubt there's any additional wind noise because it's quite far behind the flight deck, so that noise is behind you.
True. Shorty challenging whether it's holes or no holes in the bricks, Matt.
Yeah.
I love that Andy just proved that he's a pilot because there's operators back there. He's like, I don't know, it's probably not that loud. There's like people back there too.
Yeah, behind that door. I'm not bothered what's behind there.
Only
that's the end. Just behind me is the end of my world.
Yes. I have no interest going forward. Yeah.
That's so funny. I've been on both ends of it, right? So I was a sensor operator before I was up front. So.
Speaking of spotting, as you said earlier, that Andy loves aircraft spotting. This is a different sort of spotting for you, Andy.
Yes, it is. This is from the BBC. Most military spying is conducted from satellites hundreds of miles above the Earth's surface, but there's a new entrant in the old game of keeping an eye on your strategic opponents, and this new spy is surprisingly sluggish. Phaser 35 moves so slowly it can appear to be going backwards. This weird elongated British aircraft is powered by small electric engines attached to elongated wings encasing solar panels. These capture power during the day and keep the two engines turning at night. Solar power is stored in packs of lithium batteries like phone batteries. Having so many batteries means some can fail during weeks of flight without any impact on endurance. With a 35mm wingspan, pencil-thin carbon fuselage, and 150 kilogram all-up weight, Phaser 35 looks a little flimsy. The wheels it rolls on to take off are abandoned on the ground, the machine landing slowly on its two engine pods and changing the bruised propellers after every flight. It resembles an arrow that has grown long, thin wings. That fragile appearance, more insect than aeroplane, is one clue as to why BAE Systems chose a US military range in New Mexico to test Phaser 35 in July this year. The normally benign climate in the southwest US gave the aircraft its best chance of climbing to 66,000 feet, twice the altitude of a commercial jet. Not quite. Without encountering strong winds that might tip the delicate machine over and dive it earthwards. Clambering to its stratospheric destination at a lazy 55 miles per hour, the machine can travel backwards in relation to the Earth if it hits winds or higher velocity as it noses upwards through weather systems. One of its rivals, the Zephyr solar-powered high-altitude aircraft, flew for up to 18 days during 2021 tests in Arizona. Zephyr was also built in the UK for Airbus, but a more ambitious flight lasting 64 days ended in a crash in July 2020 due to high-altitude air turbulence. One key attraction of such spying equipment is price. They cost a fraction of launching a satellite into space. Or you could use the Chinese method and just send up a balloon.
Also acceptable method.
Is it though?
This thing doesn't even look like an airplane. It's crazy, huh?
I just love that picture with the two guys there with what looks like some wheels off my push bike in the garage.
It looks like something I used to build as a small boy out of pram wheels and roll down a hill on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do look like bicycle wheels.
They are bicycle wheels, whatever way you look at it.
And those two fellas have just come out from Halford. Just
come to give it a quick service. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's not going to keep the costs down if you've got two blokes from Halfords there.
Were you a lover of Meccano, Nev, back in
very
the
much so? Yes,
yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot back in the day. Yes.
Yeah, this kind of
luckily
is a bit Meccano-esque.
metal and screws. Yes. I should have become an orthopedic surgeon, shouldn't I? Really?
Well, quite. Yeah, you've got the dexterity. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It just looks very, as his story says, a bit flimsy. You know, a slight change of wind and it would probably fold over and drop from the sky.
I mean, they have probably thought about that in their defence.
I'd much rather just have your UAV or drone, Matt, I think, rather than this.
I mean, it can carry a camera, but I think that's about all it's capable of doing.
But thank you for bringing us the military news this week, Armando, as always.
Thank you to Andy also, because I feel like we gave him all the stories with the hard words today.
Yeah,
you did. Yeah,
that's not fair.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Not on purpose, I promise.
Now, the competition for the book, Nev, we've got an update on that, haven't we?
Yes, what we're going to do is we're going to roll that over to next week due to some operational things that have happened. So, yeah, we'll give you the answer to the competition next week. Well, basically, I haven't got my finger out. That's what's really happened.
You've been ill, Nev. We'll let you off.
Well, you know, I've been slightly under by that.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate you guys taking on some of the stories tonight as well, because I'm still not quite back to normal, I have to say. But no, it's been really good tonight. And so next week we shall come up with the answer to last week's competition, or last time's competition, and we'll be setting a new competition for the following week.
Yeah, we've still got loads of stuff to give away, including some DVDs as well, aviation-related DVDs, and some more books to give away as
DVDs?
well.
Who's got a DVD player these days?
Everyone's got a DVD player.
I haven't.
I don't have a DVD player.
No.
Oh, well. Oh, we've got some interesting noises there coming from the US. Are you still there?
Sorry, we did like 2 spy stories, and I think the NSA just shut us chat. They just intercepted the stream. And
So we're going to have a quick round robin before we wrap up the show, but we'll obviously start with our 2 US hosts. What you got planned for the rest of Matt's trip in the US, Armando?
I haven't got a clue.
Right. I don't know that I've actually told Matt most of the plan, mostly because we take.
Okay, moving on.
No. Well, first of all, we're going to Noda Brewing tonight. So, and I've talked about Noda Brewing. Todd Ford, the owner, he's a retired cargo pilot, DC-8 guy. So we're going to go to Noda Brewing tonight, and then tomorrow is the fly-in over at Laney's Air Park. Sunday, we didn't even talk about it, but we're going to go to the Renaissance Fair, which should be fun. And Monday, I'm taking Matt in the 206 up to the Norfolk, Virginia area. And we're going to go spend the day with the biplane that day. And then we'll come back for dinner where he's going to prepare a nice beef Wellington for us.
Oh, yes.
Matt has the picture that he's posted up there. As you can see in that picture, the current situation, he's got the seller had just a handheld ICOM radio in there. And I put a Trig VHF comm in there with associated antennas, as well as a Trig ADSB compliant transponder. So the seller is, believe it or not, doing all of that free of charge for me. So I'm going to take Matt up there, and we're just going to spend the day. And then Tuesday, unfortunately, we've got no plans on purpose because that evening he flies home.
Yeah.
So, Matt, do you have any add-ons to that?
I mean, it's just been the most insane week. It's been lovely to spend time here, obviously, and sort of spending time with Armando's family. It's just been lovely. I've been very warmly welcomed, and just loving the food. Oh, and look out. Somebody standing behind me. There we go. There you go.
No, it's good. It's good that you're having a good time. It's nice to see you relaxing, Matt, and having some time away from a certain hectic lifestyle that you lead with a radio station.
Yeah, it's been busy there, as Carlos knows. We were hit with a small piece of bad news just before I left, so that made just before coming out here a little bit challenging, to say the least. But yeah, that's sort of under control and stuff, and I am going to have to hit the ground running when I get back. But yeah, I'm sort of putting that to one side at the moment, as I say. And I mean, only been here a short time already, and had some genuinely life-changing experiences already. So
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good, don't worry about that. You're on vacay.
Vacay.
So Nev,
Americans say, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm trying to educate where possible. You know, I mean, I was telling APG off spellings in their notes and everything.
Oh, I mean, the Americans have destroyed the English language, but we won't get into that now. Sorry.
controversial.
Hold on.
Anyway, before we get shut down, Nev, what are you up to next week? Is there any flying on the cards for you, Nev?
Because there is, yes. Thursday, Friday next week, off to Edinburgh. Got some meetings up there. Early starts on both the flights, actually. So we'll see how BA manage their boarding procedures, and I should be wagging my finger at anyone that doesn't do it properly. And then, yes, so, but hopefully, well, it'd be nice to have some good weather. We've got sort of 26 degrees promised here in the south the next couple of days. It won't be quite as warm as that up north, but no, it'd be nice to get up to Scotland once again.
Good. We look forward to the reviews, Nev, for your flight when you get back.
Yes.
And who should we go through next? Andy, Mr. Wilson, what are you up to next week? Any flying for you?
Well, I'm not flying till Friday. I'm off to Corfu on Friday morning.
Oh.
But between then and now, I'm basically on days off. And as Nev's alluded to, it's going to be 20 degrees up here this week, which is balmy for October. So as a publican and landlord, I'm going to do some maintenance on the premises here, and I need to repaint the outside of it, as boring as that is. So I'll be out early doors with my sander, sanding it down and repainting it. So it's not much aviation until I go off to the Greek islands on Friday.
Yeah. And Nick, what's going on in the world of Nick next week? Any biking?
Well, I'm going to take the hovercraft over to the Isle of Wight tomorrow, go and see my son.
Ooh.
And instead of motorbiking, we're going to take a little bicycle ride. So we're going to ride over to Bembridge Airport and go and watch the GA over there. So that'll be quite nice.
Oh, that sounds very good indeed.
The old aviation?
Sorry, say again, Matt.
Is he into the old aviation, or are you just forcing him against?
He seems to have developed my affliction for looking at Flight Radar 24 every time a plane goes over.
Sterling work, sir.
Yes.
Bembridge is a great little field as well. I used to fly into there in Twin Star, but you couldn't stop. You could only do touch and go. The runway wasn't long enough to take off again. So it's just touch, go, get out.
Yeah, it's got a bit of a crest to the runway. But there is a very nice pub next door. So
there's a fence at one end as well that you've got to do your best to avoid. as well if
quite
you're
a big
low.
hedge there.
Yeah.
But it's a nice spot, and you get quite a lot of GA stuff coming in. Last time we were there was a plane that had come over from France, so flown over for a pub lunch. Yeah, because there's a pub right next door.
I don't know if you know that is technically the headquarters of Britain Norman as well.
Yes, yeah. Well, we were sort of technically trespassing on their property last time we were there because we were trying to get a better vantage point for watching the planes.
And I'm going to say a big thanks to Captain Al, because I know he's going to listen to the show. But Al, whilst I was away over in, not so sunny Wales, the week before last, actually, Al actually said about going to a CAF, an airfield at Welshpool. And I will just say that was a fantastic point there from Al, because the food was brilliant. Have you flown into there before, Andy? Sort of Welshpool, Mid-Wales Airport?
No, I stay away from Wales.
I'm
not allowed in.
That's passport territory, right?
Passport territory, yeah. But hopefully fingers crossed. Hopefully we're going to get Captain Al back on the show soon as well. So we've got that hopefully coming very soon. But Thanks, everyone, for all the hard work this evening. Thanks as well to all our listeners in the world of YouTube, all the usual family members in there joining in on the chat tonight. Don't forget our social media. We're on YouTube. Just search for Plain Talking UK. We're on there. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you see us on there. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're all on there. Just search for Plain Talking UK. It's as easy as that. Our WhatsApp number, if you want to send a picture like John Jester did and get it on the green screen behind me here, it's +44 757 22 491 66. If you want to send in some feedback, we'd love to hear from you on the show. It's podcast@plaintalkinguk.com, and also our website, all the w's.plaintalkinguk.com is where you'll find more info on us as a team, and also you'll find the links to our shop where you can purchase yourself a very nice PTUK mug and the military version as well. Just point that out there as well, the military version, plus the T-shirts as well, which you can get yourself one of those of as well if you fancy a T-shirt. They look stunningly gorgeous if you have one on. And also you'll find links on our website if you want to become a Patreon of the show and donate to the show. We appreciate that as well. It helps to push the show along and sort of, helps to get us out to the air shows that we've got some great content from over the last few months. So thanks to everyone who donates. Anyway, that's where we're going to bring the show to a close, episode 474. Have a great weekend, whatever you're up to, and we'll see you next Friday on the show. And have a safe flight home, Matt. Look forward to seeing you next week. So take care, everyone. And from us here in all our various studios over the world, say goodbye, everyone.
See you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.